Check out the Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong figures at Walmart's website at the links in the description. Kaiju, turtles, Dragon Ball, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey, hello there collectors, it is Steven here and welcome to another Godzilla vs. Kong video where today we're going to be taking a look at the two largest figures at the time of recording for Godzilla and Kong 2021, the Mega Kong and Mega Godzilla with electronics, heat ray, and mega punching. Cool. Lots of buzzwords thrown around, but what do we have here? Essentially 13 inches of Titan goodness ready to go on your shelf with a whole bunch of gimmicks. What are they? Should they go on your shelf? What's so mega about them? Let's take a look to see whether or not they're worth adding into your collection. First, I wanted to talk about Godzilla because this is the odd one. Back when the Playmates figures first leaked, we saw Mega Godzilla here with a whole bunch of armor, and everyone's like, oh, that's Mega Godzilla. That's going to be a new form in the movie. No, Mega Godzilla is it's a toy. Just like there's Mega Kong, and there's supposed to be a Mega Mecha Godzilla. That was leaked alongside this way back when. We haven't seen it yet, but hopefully it'll come soon now that the movie's out and in several other territories. It's actually doing pretty well. So hopefully we'll see that sooner than later. But anyway, Mega Godzilla here. Ooh, big guy, really big, packed with gimmicks. But the big question here, when we have gimmick stuff, that usually means that there is a give in quality. And I'm very pleased to say that that isn't really the case here. The only give that I'm going to have to say is actually going to be in the dorsal plates. They actually have a little bit of a hollow bubble in them. And if you were to take your fingers and you were to squish them, you can actually see those bubbles in them when you're looking at the dorsal plates. They do feel, I guess, a little soft, a little plasticky. The overall figure does feel a little soft, but generally speaking, Godzilla does look rather nice. His tail is stumpy, and I do believe that the paint applications for the dorsal plates there aren't very good, but throughout the rest of it, it actually is pretty nice, and it's a little nicer than the giant Godzilla that they had to get out on store shelves in the middle of 2020. Now, one thing that a lot of folks complained about with the giant Godzilla is that he had screw holes, myself included. I noted that in the review. This one, they patched the screw holes with individual pieces of plastic to match up with the sculpt. Is this better? Is it not? Who knows? You be the judge. Also, he has a battery pack which is just above his cloaca. Yep. So, Godzilla here, does he look good? Yes, and he actually looks a little haunting with those translucent eyes, which we'll take a look at in just a little bit. Kong actually does look pretty nice as well, but he isn't necessarily going to have the finer details that Godzilla had. Godzilla had some nice dry brushing and actually painted nails, whereas Mr. Kong over here, while he does have some nice details, there's one glaring error with Kong. And you might be able to see it here. You might have to wait a little bit. All right, but I'll tell you anyway. His head, his hands, and his feet appear to be made of a more red plastic than the rest of his body. And this is clearly indicative at the jaw, because you can see that the pin that is used for the hinge is a different color than the actual jaw sculpt. And I believe this is not only on mine. Kong does have a gimmick, which we'll take a look at in just a little bit, where his eyes light up. And this isn't necessarily to, block out the light because, his hands and his feet, they're made of that same kind of plastic too, and there's no light bleed. And you can twist his head. So I'm not quite sure why the different plastic color is used there. But generally speaking, overall, this Kong does look pretty rock solid. The slash marks on his chest look good. There's nothing really to complain about here in terms of looks. He does have that nice thick monkey butt. And likewise, they covered up the screw holes with little pieces of plastic that match up with the sculpt. Overall, if I have to pick one of these over the other, I think Godzilla has the overall better representation. Now that we're heading into the articulation and the gimmick section though, is it going to be the same? We'll find out. But before we get into there, I want to talk about accessories that these guys come with. They both come with little army dudes. Godzilla's going to come with the running one. Kong's going to come with the one standing there, twiddling his thumbs. Clearly not meant to be in universe for Godzilla and Kong. Playmates probably just grabbed these from another release and threw them in the boxes, but hey, it is what it is. Also of note, Kong does come with his axe, which we took a look at. Alrighty.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about articulation a little bit and the gimmick that these figures have. So Godzilla actually has ball-jointed shoulders. They're effectively swivels and they just kind of wiggle in and out a little bit. So that works for both arms and you can spin them around all the way. He does also feature wrist swivels so you can spin them around. Do take note though, they are a little rough to spin, especially this one. If you are experienced with plastic, it kind of feels like you're stressing the plastic and you may just actually shear it off, so do be careful. Now for Godzilla's hips here, they're very hard to move, but they do swivel forward and back just like that. And then we do have a little bit of an ankle swivel there. About a side-to-side movement, can't go all the way around. Godzilla has a little stumpy tail that you have to attach, and that's going to be on a ball joint so you can twist it and turn it. Now, these guys have gimmicks. So we'll go ahead and start with Godzilla's. Godzilla has light up parts, and he also roars. We'll take a listen to all of the roars at the end of Godzilla's section here, but here's how the light up features work. We do have this little button here on the side, I guess by the back end of his ribcage, and his eyes are going to light up. His dorsal plates will light up as well. Now here's just a quick little, montage of how it looks with the lights on, in the studio setting of course, and with the lights off. Now you can see that the time delay, I'm just kind of, you might say, biding my time here. So this way you're able to see exactly what that looks like for the full duration. And I do have to say, overall, it does look pretty good. I think they did a rather swell job here. Now, when it comes to that as well, there's one thing that I did not show you, and that is, well, looks like Godzilla's got a little something sticking out of his mouth. Well, that's because... Oh. Yeah. So you hit the button to get Godzilla to roar. And then, when at least it is in successfully, there you go. He shoots out little missiles. Try that again. Maybe we'll back it up a bit so this way you can see about how far. Get a good idea. There you go. So that's a pretty neat gimmick for Godzilla. Those little missiles will go missing, I feel, for most folks with this Godzilla. So just something to keep in mind and to keep track of. So it's a pretty fun gimmick. Now, let's go ahead and listen to all the roars. Monkey time. Time to talk about King Kong. And Kong, his articulation is pretty swell. He does also come with his axe, which is going to play a part in this a little bit. So we'll talk about his gimmick in just a second, but Kong's mouth opens and closes on a hinge. And interestingly enough, again, gimmick in a second, his head rotates around on a swivel, which is pretty cool. For his shoulders, they are going to swivel around, and they are also going to ratchet up and down like so. Cool. Kong is going to have an elbow hinge and swivel as well, which is nice. And then he is going to have swivels at his wrists. Ooh, this arm is a little bit more difficult to move on mine, but it is what it is. And there you go. So this hand does hold the battle axe for Kong, which is, a little squishy. It's okay. Does it hold it well? C'est la vie. No articulation in the legs. And then for the ankles, we have little swivels. Now, what is the gimmick for Kong here? Well, as we took a look during the opening section of the video, there is a button on Kong's back, and that is going to make him, when you press it, not only roar, but his eyes will light up, as you can kind of see there. Let's just do a quick comparison with... So now let's go ahead and move Kong back a little bit and talk about this cut here in his torso. So what is that for? So you're going to want to get Kong in a nice, neat little pose here. Maybe one where he's got the axe ready to go, right? He's getting ready to impale it into Godzilla. And all you got to do is just turn him to one side, just like so. And boom. So Mega Kong's gimmick is that you can twist him and he's going to roar. And he's going to punch or swing his axe. So you can do that with that hand, or you can go ahead and just get him to cock his hand back like that, and then boom, just like that. So that's a pretty unique and fun gimmick that some folks may get enjoyment out of. It is relatively easy to trigger unintentionally, or rather easily, so it's just something to keep in mind. Now Kong does have several roars you can go ahead and activate on his own with that button on his back, so let's go ahead and isolate those roars and listen to them as best we can.
Now time for a size comparison so you can see just how big these mega figures are, and quite frankly, I hope I did an alright job with this review. These bigger figures are rather difficult for me to review properly in my space because, well, framing and getting the studio lights together, it's rather difficult, but hopefully I'm able to convey exactly how big these are. If you have the giant figures already, these are going to be much bigger. 2 inches may not seem like a lot, but it's not the size, it's how you use it, gentlemen. So, buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. These retail at $30, and quite frankly, initially I was thinking, no, these are no way $30. But after having them in hand, and then, you know, playing around with Monkey and chasing Shelly around with Monkey and swinging the axe, this is actually rather solid. Both of them are actually rather solid. I can definitely see if you are a hardcore collector, this is something you're going to want to hold on to, especially when the giant Mechagodzilla comes out for movie memorabilia 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. These are definitely going to go up in price, I feel. And if you're a kid, you're going to have a blast, okay? $30, if you can find them on store shelves or when Walmart's website restocks, no brainer, get them. Don't pay scalper prices. Everything is topsy-turvy in the world. Chillax. Good things will come to you. These are worth the purchase.
Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.